Hello there. In part 1 of the video introduction of the Pashtuns, A Contested History, I had given you a brief outline of the book. In part 2, let me tell you a bit more about the Pashtuns and what you will find in the book. Through most of history, Pashtunistan has witnessed more invasions than any other in Asia or perhaps the world. From the Aryans in about the 2nd millennium BCE to the Greeks, the Persians, the Sakas, the Kushans, the White Huns, the Arabs, the Mongols, the Turks, the Mughals, the British, the Soviets and the United States, the region has seen it all. Most attempted to conquer and subdue the Pashtuns, but ultimately failed, giving the land the moniker of the graveyard of empires. Not surprisingly, these invasions have bred a tough and hardy people with a unique way of life and a unique way of looking at the world. In the last 2 centuries, the Pashtuns have had the unfortunate distinction of being invaded by each of the great powers of the time. Britain in the 19th century, when they became pawns in the great game between Britain and Russia. The Soviet Union in the latter half of the 20th century, when they became victims of the Cold War and subjected to an invasion and a destructive civil war. And the United States in the 21st century, when they became the central factor in the war on terror and its aftermath. Today, the Pashtuns again face an uncertain future with the Taliban back in the saddle. Battered by constant invasions and fighting, especially in the last 50 years, Pashtun society has been rent asunder and become radicalized with devastating consequences for the region and the world. I argue that historically, a major failing of the Pashtuns as a collective has been that they have shown unity and solidarity only when seriously threatened by foreigners. As a result, outsiders have subjected them to invasion and even intermittent occupation, however limited in time and space it may have been. A second strand in Pashtun history that I talk about is their representation in literature of being prone to conflict and warfare. For a long time, much of what had been written about the Pashtuns was by the British, who launched over 100 military expeditions against them and their resistance to such expeditions. In contrast, I have come across very few accounts of what the Pashtuns thought about themselves or about the British. This has led to the persistence of colonial stereotypes and the association of violence and now terrorism with the Pashtuns. Third, in my view, a critical thread after the creation of Pakistan in 1947 has been the Pashtunistan issue. The newly created state of Pakistan inherited the British territories and with it the issue of Afghan irredentism. Various Afghan governments have sporadically raised the issue of Pashtunistan, the validity of the Durand Line, and challenged Pakistan's right to rule over its Pashtun areas. For its part, Pakistan has worked systematically to overwhelm Pashtun impulses for Pashtunistan on both sides of the Durand Line by manipulating the deeply held religious sentiments of the Pashtuns and using the ploy of seeking strategic depth in Afghanistan. This key driver of Pakistan's policy of trying to snuff out Pashtun nationalism and installing a friendly and dependent government in Kabul has been mainly responsible for the current turmoil in the region. I discuss these and many other issues in the Pashtuns, A Contested History. The book is available in bookshops and on Amazon. I hope you enjoy reading the Pashtuns, A Contested History as much as I have enjoyed writing it, and it gives you much food for thought. Thank you for watching.